Was the third expedition financed and commissioned by Francisco de Garay to the Rio de las Palmas a success? We'll find out today on this installment of Historically Texas. In the last two episodes of Historically Texas, we talked about Francisco de Garay. Not him. The governor of Jamaica and friend to Christopher Columbus. He had traveled to the New World with Columbus on his second voyage. We also learned that with the success of Hernan Cortez and the stories from Alonso Alvarez de Pineda and Anton de Alaminos, among others, he had become very interested in exploration. His first expedition was with Pineda, who had established a temporary settlement on what is now the Rio Grande. It lasted only about 40 days. On the second expedition, he sent Diego de Camargo with soldiers, horsemen, and brick masons in the hopes of building a fort and a mission. After being in the land about a month or so, and somewhat established, there was an uprising among the natives that occupied the river valley. Camargo and his men were attacked and driven off. They left hastily and sailed south to Veracruz to join up with Cortez. While awaiting a report from Camargo, Garay realized that domination of Mexico by Cortez showed how urgent it was for him to establish a permanent settlement north of the Panuco region. It was of the utmost importance that Camargo return to the exact spot where Pineda had landed earlier and establish his colony there. After several months of no news from Camargo, Garay was thinking he must have been successful, and he sent one or two more vessels with reinforcements. These ships, having arrived at the Rio Grande, found no sign of a settlement, no sign of Camargo, and no sign of his men. The inhabitants of the region became very hostile towards these new invaders and drove them off as well. These ships sailed toward the Panuco, and they found the Indians in that area were not happy to see them either. They would engage in a battle where many of the Spanish soldiers and the horsemen would be killed. As they escaped, they would sail south also to Veracruz. One of the captains of the reinforcements was Miguel Diego de Uz. He would join Cortez shortly after Camargo with about 50 men and 37 cavalry. Miguel Diego would become a prominent figure in Mexico after the conquest. In the meantime, the king had granted Garay's request and authorized him to settle all the lands he discovered at his own expense. The boundaries between Garay and Cortez would be determined by a recently appointed veedor, Spanish for inspector, Cristobal de Tapia. Garay's portion would be called Amachel, which is what the region was named by Pineda on his first expedition. The king's grant stated there would be no forced labor of any local inhabitants, and the women and children would be treated with respect. Also, there would be no gambling, and severe penalties would be imposed on anyone found in violation of this ordinance. Garay was commanded to post this in every city or village that he discovered. As Garay prepared for his third expedition, one in which he would command himself, Hernan Cortez had learned that Diego Velázquez and Diego Columbus eldest son to Christopher Columbus, had met with Garay and had purposed with him to conquer the Panuco and the region north of that river into what is today Texas. This was something he could not allow to happen. Cortez would assemble an army of 300 soldiers, 150 horsemen, and about 40,000 Indian allies, and march north to Panuco in an effort to stop Garay's settlement. We'll talk about that next time on Historically Texas. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something today. And as always, God bless Texas, y'all.